Hi, I'm Warren Spector, Creative Director at Junction Point Studios, part of Disney Interactive, and I'm here to talk to you about myself, Disney, and Disney Epic Mickey 2, The Power of Two. I totally believe in the magic of Disney, and I think its essence comes down to a couple of things. First is taking classic stories with classic characters and making them relevant to modern audiences. Disney's been doing that since the 30s, maybe even earlier, and still does it to this day. I think there's a second aspect to it, which is reminding people of the power of song and the power of music. The emotional power of music is just overwhelming. And I think Disney got that more than any other filmmaker of his day. And I think that's carried over to, well, whether you're making games, videos, theme park attractions at Disney today. And then most important of all, I think Disney reminds all of us what it's like to be a kid. Adults still love Disney classic films, not necessarily because the content is new or surprising to them, because we've all grown up with it, but because it just reminds us of our youth. And that lets us relate to our kids and other people's kids in new and different ways. And then for kids, Disney films and Disney theme park attractions give us something to aspire to, give them something to aspire to. So I think it reminds adults what it's like to be a kid, and it gives kids a little bit of a glimpse at what adulthood might look like, which is kind of why I think everybody loves Disney. Am I tempted to do anything outside of games with these characters and this world we've created in Disney Epic Mickey? Holy cow, yes. You know what a lot of people don't know is before I got into video games, I was making tabletop games, like Dungeons and Dragons and Monopoly kind of games. And I decided I wanted to do something a little different with my life, and I applied for two jobs. One as a producer at a computer game company, and the other as an Imagineer at Disney. And the computer game company made me a job offer first, which is probably the only reason I'm not an Imagineer right now. So I have always wanted to make a theme park attraction, and I pretty much know what I would do if Disney gave me the opportunity to do a Wasteland and Disney Epic Mickey themed attraction. So send your cards and letters to Disney, and maybe I'll get to do it. I also desperately want to make cartoons and films. Not because games are a stepping stone to something else, which is true, frankly, for a lot of people who make games, but because I think they're interesting, different ways to exercise creativity. And in the same way that I've written some novels and I've had some comics published, I think it'd be fun to try making a movie or two, and so I'd love to get that opportunity. Certainly, the world is rich enough, and the characters and stories are deep enough that we could make some amazing films. So again, if you want to see this, let Disney know, and maybe we'll all get lucky. I guess if you put the words "to date" at the end of the question, is this the pinnacle of my career to date? You could make that case. I hope the pinnacle is some decades ahead of me and I'm not done yet. But as far as what I've done so far, maybe. It's the thing is I've been the luckiest guy in the game business. I mean, I've had the opportunity to work with amazing teams on games that kind of advance the state of the art, if I can be so bold. Working with Richard Garriott on the early Ultima games that proved to me at least that games could be about more than just killing monsters and grabbing treasure. And there's a real sort of ethical foundation in the Ultima games that was really special to me, and I was a part of that. And then to work with Chris Roberts on the first Wing Commander games, which really were the first cinematic interactive experiences that I'm aware of. And then a team at Blue Sky Productions, which later became Looking Glass, working on the very first real-time, fully textured 3D game. I mean, that's just crazy to have that kind of opportunity. To work on Deus Ex, a game that I can certainly see that it's had its influence, let's just say, on on other developers and on gaming in general. So I've had a career that really does sort of say, wow, this guy's lucky. But getting to work with Mickey Mouse, I mean, the most recognizable icon in the world, that's pretty special. And to get to introduce Oswald the Lucky Rabbit to the world after being away from the screen for 80 years, that was pretty special too. So in its own way, yeah, I'd say that Disney Epic Mickey represents a pinnacle, sure.
How did it even survive?
The opportunity to bring the idea of choice and consequence gameplay to a large audience, to a mainstream audience, was a big part of why I wanted to work on this project in the first place. I mean, obviously there was my incredible enthusiasm for all things Disney, and my sort of amazement that Disney would give me and my team an opportunity to work with Mickey Mouse, such an iconic character and such an important one to the company. But you know, Deus Ex introduced the idea that how you want to interact with the world should make a difference, and that's an idea that's pretty mainstream now in the gaming community. Gamers get it. But there's a whole universe of non-gamers out there who I think still consider games, oh, you know, things where you just pass some time by, you know, killing virtual things or solving silly puzzles. And so bringing the idea of paint and thinner and Mickey, well, the player dynamically changing the world to change the gameplay experience is really a different way to get at that idea that players should be in charge of their own experience than I've ever been able to express in games like Deus Ex before. There's no question that that this is a refinement of what we were doing in earlier games, my teams and I. I wouldn't call it a refinement per se, so much as just a different approach. In Deus Ex and games like that, we were offering players a choice of, you know, sneak or fight or talk. I mean, those are fairly traditional action and role-playing approaches to choice and consequence. In the Disney Epic Mickey games, paint and thinner allow players to dynamically change the geometry, to change the game world, to change their tactical situation. And that's a very different approach to the same kind of problem. The real trick will be bringing all of that together. Fight, sneak, talk, dynamically change geometry. When we do that, that'll be something amazing, and you got to know that's coming. So keep your eyes open. When we started talking about making a handheld version of Disney Epic Mickey, there was a moment where we had the natural instinct to just sort of port the game, and then after that moment passed, sanity prevailed, and we just sort of said, wait a minute, the 3DS is a completely different platform with completely different capabilities, and gamers who have different expectations about what kind of experience they're going to have when they play. So we kind of started from scratch and said, well, what would we do with paint and thinner if we started on a platform that had a stereoscopic 3D screen and a lower touch screen? What would we do there? So that was where we started. And then when we started auditioning developers, we looked for people who came to us with an idea based on that stereoscopic 3D top screen interacting with sort of touch screen on the bottom, and we got lucky. We talked to about half a dozen developers, I guess, and then Dreamrift came to talk to us, and they came to us with a proposal for a bottom top screen interaction game where you draw things on the bottom and they appear magically on the top to change the platforming environment there. So that idea, was sort of ours that was echoed by Dreamrift, which was great. The overall look came out of discussions that my team and I had with Dreamrift and Peter Ong, the creative director there, and his team, where honestly I can't remember who came up with the original idea, but we all sort of jumped on the idea of tribute to 16-bit game graphics and gameplay pretty quickly. It probably started with Peter, actually, because he was the one who came up with the idea of a tribute to Castle of Illusion, the classic, sort of 16-bit Mickey Mouse game. From there, it was kind of natural, I guess, to adopt a visual style that was similar to that inspirational game, Castle of Illusion. And the real, sort of, I can't believe I didn't think of that moment for me was, how could I not have thought to include video game history in Wasteland? I mean, it's like forgotten and rejected video game stuff absolutely has a place in Wasteland and in the Disney Epic Mickey universe. And all credit to Peter and his team, because they're the ones who came up with that. I'm just appropriating the idea now, and you can expect to see a lot more of that in the future.